Hey everyone, I thought I would do a kind of a solo episode, but just one on something that I was a bit hesitant to about just for a number of reasons, just because I think there's a lot of kind of misinformation or it's I guess a bit of a taboo topic, to be honest, just depending on who you talk to. Um, in regards to kind of plant medicine, and it's kind of a big topic. I'm not an expert. I don't know if I'll ever really be an expert in this. This is something that I think people, it can really be helpful in your healing journey. I think, especially if you're kind of stuck, if you're in a place where you're not really like living your best or living your fully, or if you're not present, if you're dealing with mental issues, if you're dealing with physical issues, if you're dealing with both, I think this is, plant medicine, whether it be microdosing or macrodosing, can really be beneficial. I don't think it's for everyone. I think, it's not necessarily that you have to do some big macrodose and do this big thing about it and go on like a retreat or something like that. You can if you can afford it and if you're able to. Wonderful. I do think it's kind of mixed results, but I do think there's a lot of more research going into this, and then from personal experience, I know that it's been pretty helpful. Also, if you're bipolar, or if you're schizophrenic, if you have psychosis or something like that, or if you've been diagnosed with that, or even if you suspect it, I would urge caution. Maybe microdosing might be for you, maybe not. And there are some medicines, some plant medicines, and I guess some animal medicines of sorts, you could call it that are non-psychedelic as well too. So I'll just talk about what I've done, what I've experienced, what I kind of recommend. It is helpful. I really do think people should do their research if they can find someone locally, especially that will work with them, whether it be an integration coach, whether it be someone just hold space, or someone that's kind of been through it before. It's also, you can do a microdose. You can do a microdose, and you want to make sure it's dosed properly, whether you get it from, make it yourself, or whether you get it from someone, to not take too much, and that can also benefit you as well too. I haven't tried, everything out there, but I've tried a variety of different things, either on my own or in a group setting. Also one-on-one, I've done that as well too. There are some non-psychedelic ones that I would recommend. There's one called Hoppe. It's tobacco mixed with typically herbs and other stuff. I typically use it in conjunction with Sananga, and how I was kind of taught or shown was to use Sananga, which is another one, and that's made from, I believe, tree barks, and it's basically like eye drops, spicy eye drops, if you want to call it that. And you do that, and then you do Hoppe, and it can be rather intense because the Sananga, especially, it can be rather strong, and you'll need, either tissue or paper towels. You can often find people that will do these in group settings and also sometimes one-on-one. It's typically, they do Hoppe and Sananga before ayahuasca or big plant medicine ceremonies. Not always, but I think it's a good, energetic clearing, and it also can, has many helpful benefits doing the Sananga and then the Hoppe. And you can also do it just by itself. You can do it like I do it probably once or twice a week or so. I think it's really clearing, it's really grounding, it's really energetically, uplifting at times as well too, depending on which one you do. But yeah, there's also some other ones that are technically non-psychedelic. Kambo is technically Kambo is it's from poisonous tree frogs, and it causes energetic clearing, and there's purging and stuff like that. There's also Kambufo, which is where they use Kambo from the poison, but then they also use Bufo, which is extracted from a frog, and it's a form of DMT. It's kind of a more stronger form of DMT, more so than ayahuasca. and so that's also a possibility as well too. And there's some other ones as well too. But for the most part, those are the kind of the non-psychedelic ones that I use, and I typically use on a regular basis. There's other ones as well too. There's I have probably the most experience kind of with psilocybin, more so with microdosing. I have taken some macro doses and found some benefit, but I do find taking microdoses, and especially if you do it properly, on a regular basis, like, do stuff like meditation and, yoga, especially restorative yoga, some Tai Chi and Qigong, journaling, also doing some self-care stuff, kind of incorporating, like, if you can. And there's some cheaper, affordable options, such as group acupuncture. There's student acupuncture clinics as well, too, typically. There's massage. You can find student massage clinics as well too. Chiropractic, you can find, at least I use like the joint chiropractic, and I find that to be helpful. Also being out in nature and stuff like that, and also follow somewhat of a schedule of sorts with microdosing as well too. I have known people that have taken it for like several days in a row or for like a month straight. But you do want to take breaks, whether that be at least once a week, if that be every other day, or you take it for 2 or 3 days, then take it 2 or 3 days off, stuff like that. And that applies with, psilocybin and mushrooms, but also other stuff as well too. The psilocybin and mushrooms, it seems to be, especially if you're dealing with, cognitive impairment, if you're dealing with like brain fog and stuff like that, I find that's helpful. I think that and other medicines can also be beneficial of kind of manifestation. It can help, reform different habits. It can kind of, because especially if you're doing macrodosing, but more so if you're doing macrodosing, but not as much with microdosing, but you want to kind of have an intention going into, especially if you're going to do a individual or group ceremony, something you want to work on, something you want to focus on, something you want to heal, but also be open to kind of the process and stuff like that as well too. And with more legalization opportunities and stuff like that, I feel like, more, you can also do it in kind of a more clinical setting, which might be helpful for some people. You might also want to do it in a more traditional shamanic capacity as well too, and there's more people that are open and doing that as well. There's other stuff that you can also use as well too. There's salvia, which I haven't really done much of, but can be beneficial for some people. There's mescaline, which you can get from, San Pedro or peyote. There's iboga, which I don't really have any experience with actually mescaline or iboga. There's not necessarily plant medicine, but I think it can be beneficial, is high dose or moderate to high dose of ketamine, but also a lower dose esketamine done through, typically more places are kind of offering it, but they are kind of picky about how you want to go about it. You typically sometimes have to do counseling and or medication, or be on medication to do it. There's also, you can also just do DMT. You can use that in a number of different ways as well too. You can get it from bufo, or you can do it from plant extractions as well too, and you can also even microdose with that as well too. But yeah, it's really important that you do, kind of your research, know kind of what you're doing, at least going into it. Be open and open-minded about it. Be open to the process. Even though these can be beneficial and helpful, it can be a lot when you do like kind of a large dose and stuff like that. So if you can plan some time off, be gentle with yourself, be easy with yourself, and it's important to, while you're doing it and afterwards, to kind of do self-care like I mentioned before. But there's also some supplements I think that can also enhance it as well too, especially more so the psilocybin, which is what I have the most familiarity with. There is a supplement I take typically, not always, but it has lion's mane, and some other mushrooms in it. But I think phosphatidylcholine or serine can also be beneficial, and also niacin, because it helps increase blood flow, but cerebral blood flow, and also helps the neuroregenerative healing powers of basically psilocybin, because I haven't really seen much that can really heal the mind as well as psilocybin. I think there are other things that can be beneficial and you can use, different supplements and biohacking and stuff like that, but personally I haven't really seen as much of a benefit. But it does take time. It can take months if not years of microdosing and doing some macro doses and stuff like that. If you can work with someone at least at the beginning, so you know what you're kind of doing, and so you can have a safe and good setting. Make sure you're doing it in a safe place, whether it be at your place, whether it be a house or an apartment, or if you're doing it outside, do it in a rather safe location. You don't want to do this stuff when there's people around, or just kind of use a little bit of common sense and some and research into it, and be safe and careful about it. But I think, if you're kind of stuck with your healing journey, if you're stuck kind of in life, you want to manifest, a better job or career or business, and stuff like that, I think it can be really beneficial. I typically use isochronic tones, and also isochronic tones mixed with some subliminals, and I use those when I'm microdosing, and typically it can put you in a more suggestive state, and it can also help with that, I think. But there's also other stuff you can do to change kind of your beliefs and stuff as well too. You can do other shadow work, you can do EMDR, you can do EFT, and other stuff as well too. But that's kind of my, I guess, introduction to kind of plant medicine. I might touch more so on microdosing more so in the future, and how I use it, and how I might have a guest on or something like that. I will have some recommended resources. If you can find a local meetup group or someone locally, there's also there's different forums, there's subreddits, there's other places and places you can go to find this information. Just be careful, because you really have to kind of filter through and kind of find what is actually beneficial, but what is true and what's factual. And with plant medicine, it's kind of iffy, because people will have all these different kind of opinions and different ways to do it, and sometimes there's a bit of people are kind of stuck in their ways, especially if you're kind of a traditionalist and stuff like that. I really think, though, people should use it in kind of a healing, respectful manner, not like in a way, if you want to, like, if you're partying or going to a rave or something, do that and stuff as well too. I stick to more, natural stuff that's, it's not like chemically or involves much chemicals, so I can't say much to, ketamine. I think ketamine and LSD and some other stuff might be beneficial. I think psilocybin and other stuff is more beneficial, though. But that's just kind of my opinion, and that's my own perspective. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoys this. Check out the recommended resources. I'll have maybe some supplements and other stuff as well too. If you need help with your health, or want to collaborate, or want to work on, be a guest, or want me as a guest on your podcast, feel free to reach out. It's just my the name of the podcast at gmail.com, so feel free to reach out. Hope you're all doing well, and I'm going to try and put out more regular episodes as well too, so look forward to that.